Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
Welcome back to What's on Tap podcast, your weekly beer review and sex advice show.
Has it already been a week since last episode?
It has been a week.
Oof, time flies.
I know. And we're here to offer insights into fascinating beers and offer any of your questions about sex that you may have. So, Martin, what would you like to share today?
What do the bees actually do to the flowers?
They pollinate them.
Oh,
all right. They investigate the stamen, and then they move the pollen from the pistil into the stamen.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So for today's, I am your host Martin.
I'm your host Stefan.
And for today's episode, during this past summer, was in Vienna.
Exactly.
A trip for the first time. I had never been to Vienna before, and it was an absolutely amazing city.
Did you drink Vienna lagers?
Yeah.
Were you able to get something other than a Vienna lager? Just everything Vienna lagers?
I drank a lot of local lagers.
All right.
Many of them were Zwickelbier.
What's a Zwickel?
Zwickel.
Okay, yeah, Zwickel. All right.
Zwickel, Z-W-I-C-K-L.
I thought you were telling me many of them were Polish.
No. Zwickel, which is a subtype of basic light lager, like Helles. But it has some historical significance. There's a lot of Zwickel in Germany as well.
Yes, I would imagine that.
But I got on Tapped, I got several levels of Zwickel.
You really jacked up those numbers there, huh? You went from like level 4 to like level 30, like just in a weekend.
Exactly. So to commemorate that, we have two Austrian beers today.
What is Austria known for in food? What is it? I feel like it's like a schnitzel or it's a...
So food-wise...
pastry or something.
But I didn't try a lot of desserts. So they have the Sacher cake, which I didn't try. But I tried Wiener Schnitzel, which is veal schnitzel. It has to be veal or it's just a schnitzel.
Yes. That's the way we described it at home as well.
Exactly. The Vienna soup is like a beef broth type soup, which is really good.
Okay.
What we in Sweden call Wiener sausage, they call Sacherwürstel.
As you would.
A delicious sausage, and they serve it with spicy mustard and horseradish.
Ooh, I love horseradish. Nice.
So good. And the craziest thing I ate was the Tafelspitz. And it was really warm, and when I ordered it, it said cold meat, basically. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll have that. And the waiter was like, ooh, Tafelspitz. Of course.
You're like, uh-oh.
That's the first warning sign.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what I'm getting here.
And I Googled it afterwards, and Google's images don't look anything like what I got. I got a mountain of boiled beef that had then gone cold, pre-boiled beef, grey, in a big mountain, with a few pieces of sliced red onion and like one salad leaf. It was just a mountain of beef.
Oh, I mean, that sounds perfect.
And I couldn't eat all of it. It was too much.
Wow.
And then later when we went a guided tour, it wasn't a guided tour. It was one of those tours where you have a speaker in your ear at the summer palace of Schönbrunn, where the Austrian emperor spent their summers. I love summer palaces, by the way. Many of the castles in Europe are fortifications from the start. They are military installations turned grand palaces.
And they haven't been like the decorative nature of them is usually lost.
On the outside they're quite gothic.
Yeah,
because you
get inside and it's just like, well, this is what this room may have looked like, and then you go to the next room and it's like, well, this room's just empty.
Yes, but the summer
palaces are always really decked out.
They have no military significance. They are built to be beautiful during the summer, and then we learned that the Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph, guess what his favorite dish was? The Tafelspitz beef mountain. And then I realized, oh, no one's supposed to order this. This is here for historic purposes.
We have it on the menu. We only serve it to tourists because they're idiots.
Yes. So Vienna, when it comes to beer, there are a few craft beer bars, but most of it is every bar you go to, you can find something new as a tourist, and many of the bars have one or two of their own house beers, and I say that with quotation marks because you kind of get the feeling that they buy the beer from somewhere else and rebrand it. I asked in some places, "Do you brew the beer here?" And they were like, do you like it?
Oh, that's a no.
Probably not. There was one place called Cra, and it had crows. And the beer was called Cra. So it was Cra beer from Cra brewery, served at Cra bar. I think they brewed that themselves.
It feels like they would, yeah.
So there were a lot of those kind of places. The best place, the tip of the day is Amundsøen. So Danish Amundsøen craft beer bar. It was amazing. It was in the southwest end of Vienna. They had rare Cantillons bottles. They had rare Driffontainen, all kind of lambics, and good drafts and everything. That was the best place. And then some brew pubs. We visited almost all the beer spots available, but I didn't have any luggage checked into the flight. So I didn't visit any of the beer stores.
Well, yeah, because I kept following your check-ins, and I was just like, I kind of feel bad for Amelia on this trip.
No, we did a lot of fun things.
I'm sure you did.
Yes.
I'm just teasing you.
So the first beer that we had is from Stift Engelszell, which is Austria's only Trappist brewery. And the beer is called Gregorius Trappistenbier. It is a 10.5% ABV, basically like a quadrupel. I think it's quadruple.
Sure.
I mean the beer style. Belgian quadruple. I'm pretty certain.
Is there honey involved?
That I don't know. Honey from the region and an Alsatian wine yeast is used to conjure up a beautiful sweet-sour interplay on the palate.
Oof. All right. Do you know what the ABV on this is?
10.5.
Wow, that's rough. Maybe you already said that. I missed that.
It does smell like honey. It has if the Alsatian wine yeast.
It smells very Belgian Quad. There's a lot of. I think instead of like the rock candy they're using the honey, and that's really boosting those sugar alcohol points up there.
Exactly.
This feels like a hangover, so it smells like.
And I'm pretty certain that this is the 2024 version.
I love the red color of this. This has a very ruby kind of dark red color when the light hits it.
But you only get that when you hold it up to the light.
Yeah. When you hold the light, it really has a nice solid color to it.
So it's Trappist beer.
All right. Surprisingly drinkable.
It does hide the 10.5%. But most Belgian Quad style beers do.
Yeah, I mean you do not get the alcohol burn at the end.
No.
It's kind of thin in the mouthfeel, so it makes it very drinkable in that way. If you didn't know this was 10.5%, I think you would be messed up because this is super easy to drink.
I get some chocolate notes from this one. That has to be from the malts.
And I get some dark, dark fruits like dates and raisins and things like that in here as well. It's a really nice beer. As you expect, you agitate it a little bit and it just kind of foams right up like you would expect from these kind of beers.
This is the kind of beer that when I was new to craft beer drinking, I would have loved because it stands out from regular lagers. I've kind of grown out of my love for strong, dark Belgian beers.
I think you kind of have to. They really hurt the next day. I mean, because there's such a high sugar content in them, and there's a high ABV content that my hangovers are never the worst. That after I've had a few Belgian quads or triples even.
Right, but the second problem is that so you have a few that are world class and those stand out, but then most of them including this one, end up in a perfectly fine kind of category where they almost all taste the same.
Definitely. If you were to put this in a lineup, I would definitely not be able to pick this out. The only kind of off note I get is there's a bit of a dry, tannic finish to it.
Maybe that's the Alsatian wine yeast.
Could be, because it does finish very dry, and there is a bit of a, like I would almost say, like sometimes you get barrel-aged stuff, like you get kind of a tannic resin at the end, and it's a bit like that for me.
That is true.
Which I don't mind, but it just kind of doesn't, it feels like the beer stops and doesn't carry through with the kind of some of the richer notes you get on the front of your palate.
I agree. For me, this is a 375.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Yeah,
I think it's
totally reasonable.
Yeah.
The second beer is from one of Austria's best breweries, in my opinion. It's Brauhaus Bevog. They are not from Vienna. They are from Bad Radkersburg.
Yeah.
And the beer is Hagger Blend 1019 Blue, which is a barley wine in their paper bag series. And it does come in a colorful paper bag with a felt string, not a felt string, a string, a regular string.
A regular string, and
like
paper bag is very
string.
colorful, and it did have a very extremely thick wax. I'm gonna rip this open so we can get the bottle. So it had a very thick wax tip on it. It's quite difficult to open. And the bottle itself is quite lovely. They've got a nice.
It's screen printed under the paper. That's a waste of money.
And it says the paper bag series. This barley wine was a blend of multiple batches of beer, which were aged in different spirits oak barrels, which you could definitely smell in the nose. Again, there's a bit of a tannic smell in the nose as well. The complex aromas and taste of oak, dark, and sweet caramel, vanilla, coconut, cocoa, roast, dark fruits, and berries is a product of complex brewing combined with the long maturation time and in the end of time, spent in oak barrels. It will cellar very well. It is a sipper and perfect to share on a special occasion. 12.2%.
This is a special occasion.
This is always a special occasion. And it's good until 2029.
Have you smelled it yet?
Yeah, I smelled it a couple times.
It smells like, when I say murky, it's like old wood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a bit of a celery kind of, like, I don't say dusty, but like old cellar kind of smell.
Yeah, when we say dusty on the show, for me that is imperial stouts that have stood out too long. That's not the aroma I get from this one.
This is like, so this is where I get like the tannin.
It's almost a little bit like a damp aroma.
Yeah, you're definitely getting the barrel aging smell on it. So it's pretty strong. But there's also an undernote of this, like I said, dank.
Yeah, this aroma is wild.
Kind of smell.
I think we've actually had a bottle of Hagger before when it was in like a snub nose bottle.
All right, maybe possible. I'll have to look it up later.
We do no research. Cheers.
That's kind of a bit of an alcohol nose on the end.
Yeah, but it tastes better than it smells.
It tastes much better than it smells. Actually, really strong whiskey flavor on this.
Yes.
Like almost like you're drinking a light whiskey. This is the most whiskey flavored beer I think I've ever tried in my life.
Yes.
It really tastes like, like a nice bourbon with that's been kind of watered down a little bit.
So we did try it in 2022, but we just called it Hagger. Just Hagger. Nothing else. So that's interesting.
All right.
Whereas this one is a special blend with numbers and colors and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to look into our Untapped history because I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, but I figured since this was the paper series and
paper bag series, funny they just didn't put all of these in like brown paper bags.
That would be fun. But it's quite.
That might be too American then. Oh. Yeah. But this is quite a nice beer. I find this very drinkable. This is a sipper. I would definitely say you should not use it on a podcast and then just kind of drink it quickly. But you really want to let this beer needs to aerate and it needs to breathe and it needs to burn off some of the alcohol heat that's on the front end of it. And I think it's going to really open and develop in a really wonderful way.
But you give the listeners kind of the impression that we stopped drinking when we hit stop record.
No, we don't. I'm just saying,
that would be misrepresenting the truth.
What I'd almost recommend is you take this out, and you open it, and you let it sit for decant for 30 minutes, and then pour it. Because I think what you'll find is that the bouquet is going to open up more. Some of that initial alcohol presence will kind of evaporate, and you'll get less of this kind of whiskey-ness and more of a rounded tones of caramel and the dried fruits and other things that are in the bottle.
I think you're right. I think when this gets more air, other flavors will pop out. But I am actually really liking the whiskey notes of...
Yeah. I mean, this is straight up super drinkable. I really like this beer, just as it is.
Yeah, it has an okay appearance. When you hold it up to the light, it's a kind of brownish, but it's very clear. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get barley wines where you look at it and go, that's a lot of sediment. That's just
a little sewer water looking sometimes.
Yeah.
That's so barley runs either in the gamut of really clear or just sewer water. There's no middle ground. But yeah, I think this is a really nice beer. I'm super glad you brought this on the show. I'm going to give this if we had more time to let it sit and revisit, I would probably give it a 4.25, but today I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm the same. Right now, as it stands here, if I'm forced to give it a rating now and never sip again, 4.
Yeah.
But I think if we let it sit a little bit, I think it'll end up on a 4.25.
Yeah, definitely. It's maybe like a 4.3 after you had a few more beers. But it's a really great beer, and I'm really glad you brought it on the show.
Okay. Nice. So I recommend Vienna both as a destination for history lovers, but also also as a beer destination.
Yeah,
you just need to make your do your research. There was a few brew pubs that were. It's so strange. You have a street with 1 billion tourists, and then one street off, it's completely empty. There's not a single soul, and that's where there's a brew pub serving 4 different beers that are acceptable, but better than a fun brew pub. And there's no one there.
Yeah.
How is it that not a single person has gone the 5 meters?
That is the fun thing about some European cities where you're just if it's not on the main thoroughfare, it literally does not exist a tourist.
Exactly.
And you go one street over and you're like, this is really nice. There's no tourist. It's super relaxed. And the beer is better than what I'm getting on the next block over.
Exactly.
So was there did you see was there a mass produced beer that was particular to Vienna? So was there something if you go in some places, you're like, oh, well, you're going to get Estrella every place you go, or you're going to get Heineken in all of the bars. Was there a situation like that in Vienna where you're just all right, so every bar is going to have Javier or Amstel or something on tap?
Yes, and I thought I knew which one. Now I thought it was Oettinger, but that's German.
Yeah.
What? What's the? Boo. Yes, there was a mass-produced. Okay, let me quickly go Vienna.
Because it is kind of fun sometimes to see all right, well, so who owns the taps in this area? Of course, you go to Denmark. Carlsberg owns everything. 90% of the taps in Denmark. But then you go to Germany, and it's probably very regional.
Ottakringer.
What?
So Oettinger is German. Ottakringer is the Vienna macro brewery.
Oh, okay.
They pump out regular drinkable beer, and that Ottakringer is everywhere.
Yeah. For me, that's also kind of the fun. Is what is the thing that you've never heard of that's just kind of pumped everywhere?
Exactly. So I had tried a few Ottakringer beers when they were at Systembolaget, regular lagers. But basically every bar there was something new, even if it was a macro, because I had never been to Austria, or I passed through Austria, the western parts, but I'd never been to...
What's really fun is like sometimes when you go to like Southern European cities, they've got like all of these German beers from brands you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
You're like, I have no idea what that is. And quite frankly, it scares me a little. I'm not sure I want to drink that.
Exactly.
It's insane.
And what's fun about Vienna is that it's surprisingly close to both Hungary, Slovakia, and Czechia.
Yeah.
So the craft...
Czech Republic, for those who didn't know what Czechia is.
They renamed it. On Google Maps, it's Czechia.
Since when?
I don't know.
Okay. Look at you.
And Swedish, it's Czechian.
Yeah.
Okay, so for, the republic's formerly known as Czech Republic.
Okay. Formerly known as Czechoslovakia.
So whenever there's craft beer, you'll get a little bit of Austrian craft beer and a lot of Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia / Czech Republic beers, which is quite fun because they're so close. They have access to that. But I think the craft beer movement is still young, so there are only a few.
I think that region's really been rooted in traditional beer for such a long time that bringing in craft beer. I mean, when you think of craft breweries, Germany, Poland, Czechia, Austria aren't really springing to the front of mind. It's changing. I mean, you're definitely getting more stuff out of Poland and Germany. I'm not so sure about Czechia. I can't remember seeing anything out of Czechia that wasn't a traditional Czech beer. But but you go down to
in Prague,
like Budapest, there's like a lot of craft brewery down in Budapest. That's become a real craft beer haven of recent.
But Prague has several central craft beer bars that are really good.
I haven't been there in like 10 years, so it's been a minute.
I recommend it.
No, I love it, but I mean, I love Prague. It's a beautiful city, but I haven't been there as a beer tourist. I went there just as my first vacation in Europe was to there. So
nice. And you in your ancestry tree, you have some Czech roots, right?
Well, they're Slovakian.
Roots. That's even more rare.
It is. Also a little scary. I don't know if you look at Slovakia or been to Slovakia or know anything about it, but it is not tourist rich.
I should go there.
I really want to go there. It seems interesting. But we'll wrap that up here.
I'm glad you liked the beers.
I did. I enjoyed both of them.
You liked hearing more about beer in Vienna.
Of course. I love hearing about people's vacations. I'm one of the rare people who are like, show me your vacation photos. I want to see what you did. Taking notes. Like, okay, don't do that. Do that.
Nice.
Go check out this place. All right. So you can find us online at What's on Tap Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere you can find podcasts. You can find us. Like, subscribe. We appreciate it. So until next time,
keep drinking a dumbbell.